thanks for taking the time, mate, to step on the podcast with me. And yeah, man, it's good to have you on here. And so where did it all start for you, man, with the bike with the bike world?
Oh, that's a good question. That could be a long story too.
Awesome.
Like most guys like us, I don't know, growing up, loving dirt bikes and loving Hot Wheels cars and loving that kind of just motors, wheels, trucks, all that kind of stuff. So like, my dad even used to take me to car shows and drag race events and stuff like that. And it was just kind of, I feel like part of, instilled in me. But really, the short version of like really getting into bikes and when you're a kid, it's just all fun and games. But like really getting into loving motorcycles and wanting to create things or build chopper type stuff was in my early 20s. I was playing in some bands and stuff before and focusing on music and all that. But when I moved to Kelowna, where I live now, about 20 years ago, I met a guy named Brian Murray from Chaotic Choppers. He had just started the company, but he was doing custom motorcycles at the time and immediately gravitated towards him. We became like best buddies. And to this day, we're still buddies, even though he lives in a different part of Canada now. But we customized a couple Harley Softails and stuff like that at the time, whenever the twin cams just came out. We had, lowered them with some Heartlands kits and, different wheels, different paint jobs, changed the forward controls, changed the bars, did a few custom things, but on a Harley. So always had to change what was stock to something custom. And then not far after that, we both decided we wanted to do frame up customs as well as building bikes for other people. We wanted to do a couple choppers for ourselves. So at that time, this was like probably 2004 or 2005. You may remember when Jesse James from West Coast Choppers was still selling rigid frames to the public.
Yeah.
Back then. His style appealed to me like back then. Do you remember biker build off shows and World Biker Build Off and all that stuff was on?
Yeah, he's bought it back, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, he's just introduced Outlaw TV, and he's just bringing back the he's bringing it back.
When that stuff came out in the early 2000s and it was on TV for the first time, it was like something that I was always drawn to, but it wasn't cool. It wasn't publicized. Like choppers were for like old bikers and choppers were like outlaw stuff. And I had an interest in it and a love for it, and anything that was customized. I even like, old cars and stuff too, but it wasn't publicized. It was actually like, shitty, that's never going to amount to anything kind of stuff.
How old was you back then, if you don't mind me asking? Like
I was
roughly?
just in my 20s, like probably 23.
That's crazy. So, like, I was so fortunate. I had Terry from Lethal Threat, owns Lethal Threat Company. He was friends with Indian Larry. Close. They were all like on the same region and things like that. And I was telling him like the idea of he was helping Larry push one of his bikes into a place to put it on display, and I was like 12 years old, man. I mean, when Larry was on the scene on Discovery Channel, and I mean, I like Larry that much. I got his question mark tattooed in my watch,
Nice.
and so it's same again. Like back then, Discovery Channel was huge with it, but there seemed to always be that lack of appreciation for what they were doing. And that people enjoyed the programs, but I don't think anyone really understand how big of a deal and what's involved in it,
And also being from Canada too, we're so far behind the trends when it comes to, really cool custom cars and custom motorcycles and all that. It seems like people used to think we still live in igloos and ride snowmobiles and all that kind of stuff up here. And like, we have like hot summers and, we ride motorcycles all year, like not all year round. We do get some snow in the winter, but, when the internet first came out, like it was almost like, if you go on any chat groups or anything like that, like people thought Canadians were still like, Eskimos and stuff. And it was just like, come on, but anyways, back to Indian Larry and those kind of guys, like at that time, they were totally my inspiration as well. Like guys like Indian Larry from Russell Mitchell, Exile Cycles.
Yeah, man.
James, West Coast Choppers, Paul Cox, the seat builder. I could name a whole bunch more, but those guys that were building like one of a kind choppers where everything was customized in that style of like, how do I say it? Like there was a time where it got a little gross and a little bit Easter egg, where everything was over the top and way too fancy and way too big. But when it started, like let's just say Jesse James, for instance, his style of badass rideable chopper, or like something that has that aggressive stance, but it still had a little fat tire and it still had a really nice paint job and all that, but it wasn't over the top like the Orange County stuff that got, you know, pushed onto the masses forever later on. So
I mean, even the likes of sorry to interrupt you there, but even the likes of Paul Senior. If you look at what Paul's doing now, you know, Paul's gone back to old school. I mean, he's putting Springer front ends back in things. I mean, he's actually part of the Outlaw TV. So like, yeah. Well, I was obviously when I interviewed Ollie from Ride Choppers or Die. Ollie, not a lot of people know this, but Ollie's actually interviewed Jesse James. He had him on his show for about an hour, and they got speaking a lot about Outlaw TV, and Jesse James was able to collaborate with Paul Senior and Choppers Inc. Billy Lane from Choppers Inc. So they've all got the thing going. They've all got together, and like Jesse James says on the podcast with Ollie, that he did all that work for Discovery. I mean, it's crazy to think that Jesse James was like one of the pioneers of reality. Constructing something television, you know, like building things like in real life, you know, Monster Garage. That was where it started with him. But I think what makes the likes of Jesse James and Billy Lane and Indian Larry so iconic is because Larry was iconic before he passed. You know, I think it's the fact that they simply didn't care what anyone else thought. You know, regardless of the situation, regardless of the money involved from Discovery, or if there was any, regardless of any of that, they didn't care. You know, and I think it takes a lot to be able to get to that height of being known across the world and still remain to have that fuck it attitude.
Yeah, one thing I've learned over the years, and I'm not even that old or that experienced, but you know, I've been building and creating and fabricating and stuff for the better part of my, you know, like from 20s to my 40s. So I find if you do what you love and you create something or build something out of just that personal interest or that personal attention to what you think will be cool, and you don't really care if people will like it or not. I mean, 9 times out of 10, people will like it, or people will see where that came from, that inspiration. And like, I could show you around my shop of cars I've built, and like hot rod cars I've built, and other motorcycles that I've built, and try and stay in that timeless sort of look and that interest of whatever appeals to me, or even from what I've been inspired by. But you know, it doesn't matter if other people like it, but usually they tend to when you know, you're not just trying to copy something, right?
Yeah. No, that's it. And it's so like for you, what is it? So like, for example, with the Springer front end, what is it attracted you to like that? Oh, I mean, I'm starting to grow into it now. I remember at first, like my dad would say, "Oh, I really like that bike," and it had a Springer front end, and I was like, I mean, I'm still not convinced. They look cool. I just don't know if they're for me. I mean, first of all, I don't own a Springer front end. You know, I
can totally address that, because Springers are about the look, the old school look. But man, in real life, they're bouncy as fuck. Like they're like not as I don't know if you call it safe or not, but they're a hydraulic front end, like what's on
conventional,
a 39 mil, you know, narrow glide front end, wide glide front end. All those bikes tend to usually handle a lot better. Springers end up being a little bouncier down the road, and as you're going, the longer the forks are out, the farther the front tire is out, the more that it bounces as you're going down the road too. So it's got to be for looks. If someone's wanting to use a Springer, it's most of the time going to be for looks, because as far as performance, it's much better to have a hydraulic front end, or like
conventional front end. Yeah.
It's 4 bikes have that, you know what I mean? But there's nothing cooler than an old school Harley, you know, with a Springer front end on it, like the original flatheads and 45s and Panheads and Knuckleheads, all those bikes, they originally had springers back then, the first style.
That front end you got there, that looks like an original style, or is it an original, or is it is it a replica of a?
It's a replica. I believe it's a DNA front end.
Yeah.
I bought it from a friend in a couple cities over, and we just made a deal on it. And this bike, we happen to want to go with like chrome bars, chrome front end, chrome oil tank. I originally had started to work on that black Springer that I sent you some pictures of last week.
Yeah, we got them pictures up on the page. Yeah. I mean, that's cool, man. Yeah. That's cool.
So that's an original Harley front end. Like I had to normally on a stock Harley, they want to put a little bit of less rake and less stretch in a bike, and they want it to stand up nice and tall so that it handles really well. So I took that height out of it and lowered it to make it look cooler and the bottom of the frame be nice and level. So I de-raked it, so to speak, or de-lengthened it. So it'll give that bike that really low look plus a little bit of my custom touch to it. But that's an original Harley front end, whereas this one I won't touch it. It's already chromed. It's a stock DNA front end, and it just suits that frame style nice, right, with the chrome wheels. And
I mean, I'm going to be honest, Corey, and my dad's probably watching, mate. I fucking hate chrome. I'm sorry, man. My old man's Harley. He's got obviously, as you know, chrome ain't cheap, so he's got quite a bit of money's worth of chrome in it. And I said to him, I said, if I ever get my hands on that bike, everything's going to powder coats, everything, black, everything.
I've gone through the same talk with my dad so many times too, because he used to always want me to have the shiniest, nicest chrome parts, and I was like, always wanting to paint stuff black, and I didn't care if it was rusty a little or just like weathered and stuff like that. Like I actually preferred it. I have other bikes that are like that. I have other bikes that are all black front to back too. This one in particular, it's has a lot of nice matching chrome elements, and it's the look that it's going for, and it's going to be a little fancier, right? So
well, people appreciate chrome, don't they? It's generally more the. I think it seems to be more appreciated than like blacking everything out. I mean. I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's more because, like you say, it's more old school. It's more the fact that obviously everyone knows that chrome isn't cheap.
Yeah.
Man,
you know what else isn't cheap? Gold.
That's true.
I've got another bike that I'm working on right now where I've got gold anodized spokes, gold anodized fork tubes. I'm probably going to do a little bit of anodizing around like maybe the handle, like maybe I don't know. There's going to be a few certain elements that'll be gold anodized or whatever, but the whole bike's going to be black and gold, and it's going to stand out a little bit as well as something flashy. But I'm trying to step up a few things in some ways where I'm not just always going to build rat rods or old, dirty choppers, which I love as well. But I want to try a few things that are like nicer, high end looking stuff too. So.
Yeah, it's crazy actually, because I was literally just on the phone about an hour ago with a friend of mine, and he's on about doing his bike black and gold as well, and it's kind of colors that I never really popped into my mind, but like the more you think about it, it's like it could look pretty cool.
Do you want me to take you for a walk for a quick second?
Man. Yeah. Get people having a look, man. That's awesome. We're lucky to be able to have a look at things. So that bike behind you, that originally was behind you, did you build the frame for that?
No, that is a Craft Tech. Let me just try and work this out here. That's I don't want to be in the screen so much. That's a Craft Tech. That's a Craft Tech rigid frame. So it's no rake, no stretch.
Nice. It looks like and that's like the style that I like. It looks compact. It looks like it wants to go into a corner, and you're not having to fight it in there, And
so that's a rigid frame that has no rake, no stretch, similar to Harley dimensions, but obviously because it's a rigid frame, it's still, a custom rigid frame. So you don't have this arm. Yeah. So this other one.
What twin cam motor is that? Is it a stock motor? Is it beefed up?
This is a 1988 FXR motor.
Oh wow, okay.
So that would have come out of an 88 FXR that would have had a swing arm and suspension and all that, but they were pretty hot bikes back in the day. I actually own an FXR as well. I own a 1992 FXR.
They're coming back into style, aren't they? With the street, with all the crazy street riding that all the dudes are doing.
Yeah, they're good. They're good because they're performance bikes, right? They handle well. I mean, for back in the day, they had an 80 cubic inch motor. You could stroke them. You could do performance upgrades to them. I have a few friends that have them, and they're the cult following type bike that if you want to have a bike with suspension and maybe wheelies and burnouts and stuff like that, like you can do that with a lot of bikes. But that's the bike that guys love,
awesome.
because it handles really well. And then that in 1993 is when they decided to change things and go to the Dyna models, the Dyna Lowriders and all that. So they stopped making our FXRs in 92 because they were basically too expensive to produce. And that's how the Dynas came in. And now Dynas are the most popular in that scene. But the FXRs end up having this like old school following because they're harder to get and they're tough. They're badass.
And we could just see the front end on that.
Yeah, so I don't have my FXR in here right now, or I'd show it to you, but it's a 92 FXR. It's got suspension. It's got nice T-bars on it, and that's the bike that my wife and I ride together when we're going places and doing things together. Because the choppers are usually rigid frame and not as comfortable for that. So here we go. I've got
a beefy old front end, isn't it?
Yeah. So what I'm doing here, this is I don't know how unique it is because I know that there have been some people that have done it, but this is a 200 wide tire on the front of a chopper.
Wow.
So I don't know if I can zoom in on it a little better, but
yeah, man, that's a lot of meat on the front of that.
Yeah, and then the back has the same as well. So the black and gold rims, rigid frame with another Evo in it. I just love working on Evos because they are, I don't know, they're just, you can get good power, reliability, and there's still lots of parts available for them.
Yeah.
But that's that steamroller look. If you remember, I mentioned earlier Russell Mitchell from Exile Cycles. He used to do some fat tire kind of bikes or whatever, and that was always that wasn't always an inspiration for me back in the day too. And I always wanted to do one like that. So I have another bike sitting over here too. This is different than the one I was just showing. Sorry, this is probably wonky for everybody.
No, man, you're cool. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to see what you got going on, man. It's awesome.
So if you remember the pictures I sent you the other day, this is the same Springer, the black Harley.
Oh, so you swapped it onto that one.
Yeah, but this is another rigid frame. I've got some Z-bars on there that I made, but I'm going to be maybe changing them a little bit. And I've got
the bars, man.
A little peanut tank on there. And so this one is just starting to being put together. But again, it's got another Evo in it and a stock sort of like 150 tire on the back. And then
that's cool as well.
And then the big elephant in the room, which you haven't seen yet either, is see, I got some old school chopper tanks, like old peanut tanks and stuff like that from back in the 60s and 70s. But
is that Model A?
Well, it's even a little newer than that, but this is a 1934 5-window coupe.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's awesome, man.
So I've been working on this car for quite a few years now, but like I did all the roof chop where it used to be a stock height of the roof was higher. I chopped all the roof down. I did all these patch panels. Even in the trunk here, there's a bunch of modifications and stuff that I did to get the trunk to look the way it was. I've got these
nice
big, huge tires on the back, skinnies on the front, and then
what motor have we got in that, Corey?
I'm coming to that. Look at this.
Yes.
This is oh shit. How am I going to do this? This is a 1962 Buick Nailhead motor.
Wow.
That's
different. And I've never seen one of them before.
It's got the flat top valve covers, which is really
I've never seen that.
It's unique to the Buick Nailhead.
Wow.
So, and this is from 1962, and they only made them up to 66 6, I believe, and then now everything else is small block Chevy and Ford and all that have the. But yeah, this was a one of a kind thing. But that's my hot rod car that I've been working on for a few years as well. So whenever
thanks for showing us, that's awesome.
Whenever I put this back down in the shop like this is just like one element of all the little things I have going on here.
So is it with Choppers Till I Die is this a full-time business, or is this like just a side hustle, like a bit of fun, or?
It's definitely a lot of fun. Like I was saying before, I've always had an interest in fabricating, and I just kind of got into it and started doing little things. And I think I said with my friend Brian from Chaotic Choppers, we started customizing a couple Harleys, and then we said we want to build a couple choppers from the ground up. So all of a sudden now, like building handlebars, building a seat pan, modifying the fenders, modifying the tank, ordering parts from all over the States, trying to get, the right pieces to look good and fit good. So all of a sudden that's like a whole new world of building a bike from the ground up.
Yeah. And I think, sorry to interrupt you there, I think like what you've got going on, which is cool, is that you haven't jumped on the bandwagon of the whole knucklehead and panhead motors, that have become. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I can't afford it.
Anyone that's watching, I'm not knocking them at all. Yeah. They're truly a beautiful engine. But however, in the UK, I mean, my friend 2 years ago spent £7,500 on an engine and gearbox. Yeah. And he's about double that into the build.
Yeah.
And the guy that he bought the engine off has said, look, worst case scenario, let's say you couldn't finish the bike, you've already got 15 grand in it, for example. He said the engine and gearbox alone now is worth that 15 grand.
Yeah.
For a pan. I mean, it's a beefed up panhead. It's got all the right. I don't know all the name of the parts, but it's got some nice parts on it.
Well, I have
15
I have one friend here in West Kelowna here who has a motorcycle shop, Lee Wiscombe from FTW, and he is the old motor guru. Like, he rebuilds anything you can think of, but like all the old motors from the flatheads, the heads, knuckleheads, and all. He's had them. He's worked on them. He's rebuilt them. And if there's anyone around this area that would need work done to one, people would recommend him to see him. He's a master at rebuilding motors. He's got a dyno machine and everything like that too. And he's an old school guy at heart too. Like, he's been around forever, and he loves the old motorcycles as well. But he works on new Harleys all the time and works on performance, baggers and stuff when he has to. That's what the industry calls for right now. But he has. You go in, every time I go in a shop, it's like seeing him all these cool parts in a museum of stuff that I love to see that I don't get to see every day because not very many people have it. And I've tended to stick in my years with the Evolution, the 90s to 2000s motor.
And are they more affordable?
I find that they're more affordable. Yeah, shovel heads, you can still get a shovel head in the same price range, but you're going to be looking for parts a little harder, or you're going to be having to repair it more often sometimes. So Evolutions just tend to have that reliability, I guess.
Yeah.
The older you're reliable and more expensive it's going to be. But I'm not into like twin cams or newer or anything like that. I've never even had a bike with a twin cam. Funny. I've never had a new bagger. I've never had a twin cam Dyna or anything like that. Like my FXR, my 1992 FXR is the newest bike I've had besides my choppers that I build from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, like I'm because again I don't claim to be a Harley guy. Like, I've never owned a Harley, and so I keep getting mixed up all the time between an Evo and an Evo motor and a twin cam, because and my dad always keeps saying me, oh, it's the extra lug on the front on the timing cover. Yeah, that's the first giveaway, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The other major thing is that a twin cam transmission is attached to the motor, and Evolution has a 5-speed gearbox that's detachable, and a twin cam together. And again, you also go up in cubic inches too. The Evos were 80 cubic inch stock. You could always you could
big ball kit and
out, big, yeah, you could do stuff to them, but whenever twin cams came out, it was like 90 cubic, 90.
So do you not like them because of the fact that they're tied to the gearbox, and the gearbox is tied to the engine? It makes it a bit more challenging building one, or is it just generally you're just happy with the Evo motors?
That's a tough question. I think it's more so that rigid chopper frames chopper frames were always set up for an Evolution style motor or a shovel head style motor where it had the separate motor and tranny. A twin cam frame. I'm pretty sure that obviously they do make rigid frames nowadays that would be set up for that mounting position. But as far as I know, all the rigid frames I've ever
it's where it has the brace tube down the middle in it, which are between the gearbox and the engine.
And the twin cams, you could customize twin cam bikes like Softails and all that kind of stuff, but you couldn't just take everything off of a twin cam and put it into a rigid frame.
Righto.
Really do that, yeah. And well, a lot of times when they change to belt drive too on the twin cams, I mean, they had belt drives before that, but when they change to belt drives, that's not really as much of a chopper thing either. Like usually you have a chain on a chopper and more old school stuff, right? So that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, to be fair, it's like so my dad's twin cam that has a belt on it, and he looked at the price of a new belt, and they're like astronomical. Like the price, I'm not even going to say what it was because I can't remember, but I know it was a lot of money. I'm sure with some of the stuff that I mess around with, I could have pretty much built a bike for the price of him buying a belt and a new sprocket or whatever you call. I guess you call it a sprocket. Yeah, it becomes an era thing, right? Like if you're into the 60s and 70s stuff only, you're going to be running panhead, shovelhead stuff. If you're okay with the 80s and 90s stuff, that's still accessible, still purchasable all over the place, even parts stores and stuff like that, you're going to be into the Evolutions. And there's a lot of parts and a lot of aftermarket stuff to support the Evolution stuff. And you still get a great amount of power and reliability. Yeah. And then if you're into the newer style bikes and the new Dynas and the new Baggers and all that kind of stuff, you're going to be twin cam. And then there's 3 more motors after that I don't even know a lot about, the CVOs and the Milwaukee and all that. I don't even know a lot about.
I think they just bought out is it a 121?
Oh yeah, probably 117 for a while.
The new CVO is called a 121 motor, which is that two because it's like over here like I roughly understand like when you say 80 cubic inches, but for me I do CC, so which I believe what's an 80 cubic. Educate me on that, because is it about 1,000 cc?
No, it translates into 1340.
Okay, yeah, 1340, yeah.
1340. Okay. So I remember back in the day too, there was lots of guys that built CB 750 choppers and XS 650 choppers, and those were, again, you could buy a bike like that for $1,000. You could put some customization into it and have a cool little, chopper or whatever out of a
the XS 650. They're massive in the UK. They're huge. Like at the moment, that's kind of one of the bikes as well. I mean, obviously they've always been popular because they're like
they're here
big
too.
Big cylinder, straightforward. I mean, I believe the average price range I think of an XS 650 about $4 or $5 grand. I could be wrong, but I'm sure like the stuff I've seen is about $4 or $5 grand for a stock bike.
Yeah.
Well, obviously in like average condition, in mint condition, you're talking 6, 7. But personally, I like Sportsters. I like the idea of a Sportster because, again, I like narrow bikes that like my, I mean, I got a ZX10 1987. Again, older than me, so I only own one bike that's younger than me, which is my little 125 that I just uploaded some pictures today that's being rebuilt. But again, if you look at the style of it straight away, it's very old school in style, I like to make them look older and things like that.
Is that the red one that you posted pictures of? Which bike is that?
The one I posted pictures of today on the followers build section. Okay. So I think the last one was yesterday's was a guy called a guy called Guy Ritchie, who's building a trike out of an old Harley as well, which that looks cool. That's got a Springer front end, got some big drag style wheels on the back. I mean, I've got some more pitch. I try to like not post everything at once because it keeps people like waiting for the next pictures and things like that. You know, it's trying to like bring everyone into it all, which is literally why it was called the Followers Builds.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously I was able to reach out to the guy that I interviewed from the beard company, and I just wanted to give it that more feeling of seriousness that it's appreciated from, you know, not just me on social media just posting the pictures, but trying to like also like there's, you know, discount code Followers Build, so it's like even if you didn't buy the products and someone used the discount code, they're using a discount code under the name of something that's being created, you know, if that makes any sense.
It gets people involved. People
exactly.
I was going to ask you offline or whatever, but I have many friends but even like a few specific ones that I could think of that might even want to come on your podcast if they see this.
Awesome.
It's like, I got a really awesome friend, Dylan, who's painting incredible chopper paint jobs like you wouldn't believe, like old flame jobs and all kinds of picturesque type. I can't even explain the words that he would use to explain it, but he's like, you'll probably see him on Instagram, or maybe you have already, but it's DH Custom Paintworks. I hope I'm getting that right.
Okay.
Okay. But
well, I know when I was talking to Robert, because since I interviewed Robert, like I speak to Robert probably 2-3 times a week, like over WhatsApp. Like he's one of them guys that seems to know everybody. Like he put me in touch with Terry in New York from Lethal Threat, and then he said about a guy that you also follow, which builds, I can't remember his name now. He builds bikes in your region. You follow him on Instagram.
Yeah. Is it Roger Goldhammer by chance? Goldhammer Customs?
That's him. That's him.
He's a phenomenal, like world biker build off.
Yeah.
Like he's one of a kind, that guy. He is so into what he does and so methodical. He does turbo motor stuff. He does engine work that no one else does. He's one of a kind.
He does single cylinder Harley engine, didn't he?
Yeah, I look up to that guy like an idol, and he lives half an hour away from me, and I can go visit him, have a beer at his house, or visit his wife, and my wife are friends. And to me, he's someone I've been inspired by for 20 years, right? You know.
That's cool. I mean, I was like, when I was again speaking like with Robert, like another one of Robert's friends who builds bikes. I think the idea is that we're going to get like I mean, I'm down for having as many people. I was fortunate. I had like 5 people on the podcast once from the Viking Beard Club in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
So like the idea is just kind of just talking about this, just kind of not educating, but like highlighting like what's going on in the world. I mean, what I seem to have noticed with you Canadians is you guys are crazy, but in a cool way. Like you just seem to like take it up another notch, like in uniqueness, which is incredible. You know, it's
everywhere. I mean? It's in the tattoos, it's in the bikes, it's in the French. One thing I love about Canadians is we all seem to like love to support each other and show up to like, I'm not in competition with anyone, man. I'm running my own race. I'm in my own lane. I love what I love, and I have friends down the street, and I have friends across the city, and I have friends across the world, and I love it all. Anyone that's into bikes. I might have certain things that I like about bikes or people or not people or whatever, like, but all I'm getting at is like the support and the genuine support that you get from your friends. Speaking of which, remember I was just saying a couple minutes ago about my friend, the painter, Dylan. I just wanted to show you who he is, Dylan Custom Paintworks.
Dylan Custom Paintworks.
Yeah, and some of that
cool.
That's stuff that he does. Man, I want to get you in contact with him, and if you
100%, that'd be awesome.
He's in a town about 45 minutes from me, and he's just putting out phenomenal work, and I'm sure he sends his work all across Canada and the States and all that, but he would be a cool guy to have on your podcast. And this bike and the other bike's probably going to be painted by him in the next 6 months, you know, this spring kind of thing. I want to have this bike done by the spring, so I'm probably going to be getting him to paint it. And yeah.
So what style of paint job you got in mind for that, or do you kind of just give him a few ideas and he just goes for it?
This one here, we've got it planned already. It's going to be a black base coat with gold metal flake flames.
Yeah, man.
And I know this is going to make you cringe, but I was thinking of doing the frame chrome.
Well, I mean, again, it's not. I can appreciate it though. Yeah. Like I say, I appreciate it. It's, I mean, because that's commitment, isn't it? That's some commitment getting a frame chromed.
Normally, I would do the frame black and then chrome accessories and black accessories, but on this one, I might. I don't even know how much chroming is going to be for this frame because it could be ridiculous, but
yeah.
I might try and do a chrome frame and see if the bike has that nice fancy chrome Springer frame, even the little sissy bar that I just made there, like maybe do some extra chrome on this bike and then just do a nice solid black and gold paint job on the tank and fender. Otherwise, the frame will end up black. The one that I showed you in the back corner there that has the gold already on the wheels in the front end, that one I'm going to do black frame, black base coat, and it's going to be gold again, but I don't know why I'm so stoked on black and gold right now, but I have a really neat idea that I want to do on that one with, like, I don't want to call it, I don't know, it's far away, but it's like kind of like tattoo work, but it's going to be all like above the black and in gold and stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
But it's going to be like tattoos.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, sorry to speak over there, like with my 125, like I literally, my friend who I was talking to earlier, I said the same thing. I'm gonna do like how I did on my ZX10, where it looks like it's torn, like the red's torn off, and underneath is, I don't know if you've seen it in the video, in that my first attempt of a cleaning product review, but you can see my paintwork there. That's a really good friend of mine, Richard from ProDip Hydrographics. Cool. Which he's kind of like, he's stepped away from it at the moment, but I'm hoping I can keep him like in. I'm hoping to get him back into it because for me his paintwork's insane. But he did it like, well, I did all the airbrushing. He's the guru behind the paint, but we did it like it looked like the red's torn off and underneath was the white, and we did a drop shadow. Well, I kind of want to do the same type of thing where keep it red. But I'm going to do like tattoo work with a paint pen, you know, like, because I come from a bit of a tattooing background. I used to tattoo before, and I just want to do maybe some, like, I got some idea to maybe do some like sketchwork style flames, you know, like literally if you're doing a quick rendering and you're just sketching things in.
Yeah, you can have rough lines in there, but it'll look good.
Yeah. I mean, I could maybe even, because maybe I'll do, like, this just popped in my head now, is where I do like so where I make like the red torn underneath, it would be a white base coat with maybe a black. Literally, I'll just get a black paint pen and do some sketchy flames, and then as it disappears back into the torn bit, I want to do maybe some ghost flames in the red candy. Yeah, so your head just goes. And like right now, I'm like, and I could.
All you can do is give it a try, and I mean, it sounds awesome. Like, you know, give it a try. I've had visions for a long time of certain paint jobs and certain ways that I want to do stuff. And a lot of times it's different colors and different flames and different ideas. So yeah, you just got to give it a go. I've had quite a few hot rods cars over the years too, where I've got to pick what color it was going to be or how I wanted to paint or whatever. And sometimes you pick something and then it changes by the time it comes time to paint it or whatever. But you know, you got to have some sort of a vision or a goal, right, of how you want it to be.
Yeah, for sure, man. Do you do any paint yourself, or?
No, I have done a little bit of body work where I can, you know, do the prep, the body work, get it to that ready to primer and all that. But in all the cars I've done and the bikes that I've done already, it's usually prepped it and sent it to a professional.
I remember taking my tank to my friend. I was like, "Oh, Richard, I prepped it." I hand in the tank. He looks at me and goes, "He's like, well, you said you prepped it." He's like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" He's like, "It's like that, you know, gouges in it." He's like, "Mate, I got to lay down about 4 coats of filler primer just to fix this mess."
He's like, I'm gonna have to do way more to this.
Yeah. He's literally like looking at me like, well, what did you do? Did you get inspiration from Stevie Wonder? You know.
I have another good friend, Roy Montgomery, who is a professional painter, and I bought a '64 Impala about 6 years, about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was pretty rough. It needed a paint job, so him and I decided to. He offered to help me do the body work and the paint on the car, so that we could keep it away from just dropping it off somewhere and paying a whole bunch of money to have someone else do it. He said, you have the skills, man. He's like, we can do this. You have the shop, you have the skills. Let's just take it slow and do it. So him and I block sanded the car, prepped it, got it, down to bare metal in different areas or whatever. And we would do all the work in this little garage right here where this hot rod car is. I had a '64 Impala in here that was like bumper to one wall, bumper to the other wall.
That's a lot of real estate there.
Yeah, I didn't have all the bikes in here at this time, but I had them in the separate garage. But I had this Impala in here, and we would be sanding the car and doing body work and all that, and every single tool and all the stuff in the shop would be covered in Bondo dust, and it was like pretty serious undertaking. But what we would do is we would take it on a car trailer, bring it to the spray booth, and we'd put down the base coat, and then we'd bring it back to the shop here, block sand it for a week or two, and just get it all prepped and ready, and then we'd go back to the trailer, back to the paint booth that we'd rent for one day, and spray it. So he was the professional sprayer, but him and I actually got to do the whole car together. And then it ended up with a silver metal flake roof that had like 40 coats of metal flake on the roof.
Wow.
And the base color of the car was like a sky blue metallic, and that came out super nice and clean too. So I still have that car in a separate garage, and it's a '64 Impala on hydraulics, so it can do all the bouncing, raising up, nice, back, and I got to say I did that paint job myself, but I'm not necessarily a car painter by any means at all.
Yeah, because that's a lot of. I mean, an Impala, that's a lot of. It's a big old side to make sure it's straight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big long car.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a proper gangster mobile as well, man. Is it on wire wheels as well?
Yeah, it's got 13-inch Daytons with white walls. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I can bring up a little picture and show the viewers if you want. It's cool. It's definitely been a labor of love.
That's what I noticed. That's what I noticed with Robert as well. Like you guys have got like loads of the cool stuff, man, and you collect like loads of stuff. Yeah, look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
there's sparking as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get that's the silver cool. Metal flake roof parked at a car show. You can see you can lower it in the back, raise it in the front. You can do all that. So yeah,
is it on hydraulics or air?
Hydraulics, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on hydraulics.
Wow. Yeah, man, that's a nice color. That
it's pretty cool. Yeah, that blue.
Like an in between of electric blue and like a royal, like a I don't know what I say the other type of blue, but it's got a lot of pearl in there, isn't it?
It's sky blue, but it's like a metallic blue. Yeah, but look at that.
Yeah. That's nice.
It's pretty cool. So that's one of my loves right there, that Impala. And
would you say you're more? What are you more like? More of a car guy or more of a bike guy?
For me, I'm more of a fabrication guy. I love working on stuff and customizing stuff. I did start out customizing a couple bikes and building my I didn't even really get to go into that CFL chopper, but the West Coast Choppers frame that my friend Brian and I bought, that was my first big endeavor to build something out of scratch. So I bought the frame from Jesse James, bought a motor, bought wheels that I knew were going to work, bought a front end that was going to work, and then tried to customize as much as I could on the bike. So I made the bars, made the seat pan, made the fender and tank work and all that. And I still have that bike to this day too.
So whilst we're on the CFL frame from Jesse James, obviously people like me, I've only ever seen pictures of them. And obviously being that you've got like another aftermarket frame behind you and one of his frames, like, is what makes his stuff like? Because obviously is it as good as what it looks? Is what I'm trying to say. You know, is it the attention to details and the welds? Is it?
Well, what it is about the dimensions of the frame. So the geometry of what he did with his CFL frames are known for having a 200 millimeter tire on the back, so they're a wide tire, which was kind of like the craze of big tire bikes back in the day was just getting started, and then they went huge and they got out of control. But a 200 wide tire is probably the biggest tire I would ever go on a bike because it looks good and it still handles good and it just has that beefy hot rod look, right? Yeah. So he was, I don't know if he was the pioneer or not of that, but like having a 200 on the back that looked really good, and then his geometry going up like on this part of the frame was 2 inches longer in the backbone and 2 inches higher in the down tubes. So this part was 2 inches longer and that part was 2 inches longer. So his bikes had just a little bit longer and higher stance. And I don't know how to explain it. And he also had this like spider web gusset that was his signature thing right there.
Yeah.
He had a couple parts that he did that were like Iron Cross air cleaner. But when you see a CFL, or they call it, that's just logo is CFL is Choppers for Life. Yep. Whenever you see a CFL frame, you know just by looking at it. I mean, a lot of people do, not everyone do, but you can see that rake and trail and that dimension of that frame. It's just iconic. For that time.
So the frame that you got, is that the last? Because I believe his last frame he put like a box section into the back where the axle is. Yeah,
that was called the Dominator frame.
Yeah, the Dominator. Yeah,
and that one is sick too. That's a really performance oriented frame. Yeah. So
I believe that's his last design of frame. So his current design, isn't it?
Yeah, and he made a couple bikes like that. I think he sold them to the public too, but that one didn't have as much rake and stretch in the front end. It was more of a low, badass, and I'm pretty sure it was still a 200 set up for a 200 tire, but yeah, that unique rectangular bar that he put on there was for strength and for performance, I guess.
Yeah. It's he just sold one to Dana White, didn't he?
Yeah. The thing about Jesse James too was his handcrafted parts. He made his tanks, he made his fenders, he made, everything basically. But that was always an inspiration for me too, that building this tank that I built, I tried something a little different where I did instead of having a flat bottom on the tank, I did boat sides on the bottom. So the height of here to here actually on an angle, so when you look at the side of the bike, even from here, I think you can see that you might be able to see a little bit of the bottom of the tank rather than just being completely flat. They call it boat sides because it's on an angle like that. Customize that tank a little bit. It's it started out as the top half of a Sportster tank, but
you sent me the pictures. I think, like I said, that there'll be the next pictures that I release. I think because you sent me pictures of the front of the Springer front end, which are already I uploaded, and then I think the next lot is the pictures where you made the tunnel, and then where you put, like you said, when you put the boat side onto it. So with the Sportster top, was that just, did you buy a Sportster tank or how do you buy the set? Can you buy just an open top, like the top on its own?
I believe that top that I got came from Builtwell. Have you heard of that company?
Yeah, Builtwell's huge. Yeah.
For a while, they were making just the rounded tops of a Sportster tank, and it didn't have a bottom on it at all. So you could choose if you wanted to have like a really low tunnel or a really flat tunnel, or if you wanted to put the petcock on the side or underneath.
Yeah, man.
Well, I didn't get it from Betwell though. I got it from a swap meet. I think I paid $50 for the top of that tank.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it had rust on it, and it was like just kind of, it looked like it had been in a fire. It was so bad. But that's, I bought that $50 tank, and then I started making pieces of sheet metal and figuring out how I wanted the bottoms, and I bent that tunnel thing and all that, and I made this tank for like, literally $50, a little bit of my time, definitely a lot of time, but time and a little bit of money, and I made this cool ass one of a kind tank.
Man. What was it like welding up? Like, so I'm about to cut up my tank on my bike. My idea is just to cut the sides, and flip them inside out.
Yeah, that's
not all the way up. So I'm gonna kind of go like, so imagine. So I got mids. If you see the picture I've uploaded today, the frame, you can see that I've got pretty much mids, and I like mids. I don't like. I've never ridden with forwards. I've never ridden. I've ridden a few of my friends' bikes with forwards around the block, and I don't like them.
I prefer mids. Man. Mids are awesome.
Yeah, because you can still kind of like, just because it's a chopper or a bobber, it doesn't mean that you can't chuck it around, man. I still like the idea. I'm no Valentino Rossi, but I still like the idea of kind of trying to hang off the bike a little bit, even if it's got a set of vapes on it. You can kind of like lit, and I just don't think you can do that on a set of forwards. But that's only my opinion,
It's true. It's definitely like your body's in the shape of a triangle because your feet are as far forward as your arms are. So you end up just being susceptible to everything that the bike's doing. But on mids, you really feel like you're over top of the bike and you can really handle it. Like FXRs, like my FXR has mid controls. All the Dynas usually have mid controls. You can buy forward controls for them, but mid controls are the way to go. That's what sports bike or orientated performance is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you thinking those cutouts in the tank that you'll end up having?
So like what I'm looking to do is imagine that my knees kind of come halfway up the side of the tank. So I'm gonna kind of go for that almost like that race style cut, but not to. It's gonna obviously drop in like that and come out. Which I'm not welding it just because I feel again lack of experience. I mean, I have welded. I built all the subframe on my ZX10. So that's all welded by me. I welded a piece of sheet metal in where the tank flows into the seat, because typically on a sports bike, well, on my sports bike, for example, they recess the side of the tank so the seat slots into it.
Yeah.
So I had to fabricate all the sheet metal to bring that out flush with the side of the tank, and then I did a bridge piece over the top, which allows my seat to sit in there, because I didn't like the look. There's so many cool cafe races out there, but like I said with Peter on my last podcast, I just felt that a lot of people ignored the critical flow between the tank and the seat. For me personally, so I did some sheet metal there, but I got a bit happy. I got a bit excited, and so my friend said to me, he said, do a tack weld, like a 5 mil gap, another tack weld, and then go back and just keep building up like that, because I wasn't obviously having to seal anything up. I was just attaching a piece of metal. So I started like that tack gap, and obviously holding it in place so it doesn't warp. And then there was a gap of about 10 mil gap, and I thought, I'll just run a weld. As soon as I started running straight through, I'm like, fuck! Like I've now got to patch up a hole on my tank. I was lucky to do it. But so basically the guy that's going to weld it for me, he knows how to TIG weld, and so he said he doesn't want to cut it, because as soon as I said I want to cut a tank up, he's like, what? I said, I want to cut a tank up. I want you to weld it. He's like, I'm not cutting it. I said, no, I'll cut it. I said, I just want you to weld it. And so the idea is in my head is to flip them inside out.
Yep.
And again, I'm on a tight budget, so I haven't got money to chuck at unnecessary money to chuck at it. But I thought if I spin them halfway, and then just bring them. But for me, the hardest bit is I've seen so many tanks done like that, and I don't like that some people leave a really sharp edge where it flips back in. Like where you know what I mean. I think that's going to be the hardest bit, is to give it a nice round edge.
Yeah.
So looking at.
If you had the dome of the tank like this, and then you have a cutout, how am I in my hands here? If you had the dome of the tank like this, and then you did the cutout like that for your knee, then you would end up with a hard edge. So,
but you can. What I mean though is, you should, with a bit of time and that, you could make that. I'm on about where it looks too harsh. Like I reckon if the tank goes round, I reckon go like that.
I can give you a little tip or a trick if you want to know.
Yeah, man.
Take a piece of 1/4 inch or 1/8 or some type of steel rod, and if you can make your cut, and the edge of your tank will be like the edge of a cut on a 16 gauge.
I know where you're going straight away. Yeah.
If you can weld a piece of rod along that whole seam of that metal, tack it in. That's your edge. That's your edge, and then you butt the other piece of sheet metal, so you're like halfway on the round part, and then the steel edge is the actual round part.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're giving yourself a solid place to weld to, rather than just two pieces of sheet metal together.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself a solid 1/4 inch piece of steel rod to weld to. So when you grind your welds, you're not going to be blowing through the metal. You're just going to be doing that thing, and you'll have somewhat of a nice round edge.
I think that tank behind you. I think the pictures you sent me. There's some bits in on the edge there, isn't there? Yeah.
That's the trick, man. That's the tip.
Yeah, man. That sounds awesome. So I'll be taking that to him. I'll be saying, yeah, I got these tips, and let's go.
Yeah.
No,
if we were closer, man, I'd have you over to my shop and we'd fucking hook it up right now.
Oh, maybe also. I mean, yeah, I mean that's this is like most of the people I had on the podcast now are America and Canada, and it's like I've never left Europe. I mean, I grew up in Spain, but I say I grew up in Spain. I moved there when I was 9. Spent 10 years there, and which was incredible. But I've never left Europe. My missus, she's got family in Canada. She's been to Canada.
Okay.
She said Canada's incredible.
Yeah.
I cannot remember where she said her family are, but I know that she went to Niagara Falls for the day, and I don't think it was. Yeah, Ontario, I think so.
That's where Niagara Falls is. Yeah, that's on the east coast of Canada, so closer to you. And where I am right now is all the way on the west coast, which is like closer to we're above California.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're only 1 or 2 states above California where I live.
Yeah, because you're 11 hours behind.
8 hours behind you.
8 hours behind.
So right now it's only 11 in the morning here.
Yeah, so here it's 7 at night. Yeah, so it's so with that, am I right in thinking you arranged a ride out last year, and that was part of your poster?
That's kind of where I dreamed up the name Choppers Till I Die, because I've been working on bikes and cars and loving my CFL and all that stuff forever. But this past summer, I wanted to organize a ride, because I guess the backstory to that is I have a custom classic car club as well. It's called the Blacktop Bombers. And we have all classic cars, 1960s and under. Some of the guys in the club have bikes as well, but we're primarily a classic car club where it's like home-built hot rods and, guys that work on their cars or guys that have restored a car and turned it into a hot rod. So I've been doing that for, I think we're in our 13th year now that we've been a car club. Since I started that back in the 2008, I think is when I started that. And where I'm going with that is that I used to organize, along with my clubmates, we used to put on a car show every year where we would organize a venue, organize rock and roll bands. We would invite people from all over the region to come to our car show, and everyone would bring their classic cars and bring their motorcycles and hang out, have a good day, and listen to music and have drinks, right? So I did that for probably 13 or 14 years since I started. And then just this past summer, we hadn't done them because of COVID. There was we missed about 4 or 5 the last years or whatever, not 4 or 5, probably 3 or 4 the last years. We haven't done them because of COVID. And there hasn't even been very many car shows to go out to in around the world, I guess. But here specifically, it's been pretty closed. So it was kind of well, I don't really just want to go back to doing that again. It was a lot of work and all that. And so it was kind of not that I'm scared of work, but it was I want to do something different, and I want to do something for the motorcycle guys. And I want to do so brimming on choppers and stuff lately and wanting to build more choppers that I was I'm going to do a chopper ride that's for choppers only. That's just for the chopper guys. And I don't even care if there's 5 people there. We're going to go out and have fun on rigid frame choppers.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So my lovely wife is a graphics artist, graphic designer, and she made up that poster.
Yeah, sick. And then I've ruined it. Put this broken screen over it.
We made it work, but that poster for me was really special because my wife designed it, and her artwork is phenomenal. But we, decided to just put it out there, make a poster. If you remember the guy I mentioned earlier, Lee from FTW Motorcycles, he allowed us to start the run at his shop. Kind of collaborated with him a bit, where we organized that as the place we were going to meet, and it was at a motorcycle shop. So I put the posters out a month ahead of time. Friends started talking about it and ended up putting it out, and it was just kind of a brainchild of I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And I think we ended up with 16 bikes on the first run.
That's cool.
And, Yeah, and I mean, in Kelowna here, we maybe might have a little more than that. We don't have a huge chopper scene around here, so
Right.
I would say we're probably going to be in the, hopefully everyone invites a friend, but I mean, there's only a certain amount of choppers around. I don't really know.
I mean, is it specifically only choppers or?
This ride that I organized called Choppers Till I Die is
Yep.
for choppers only. Yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of other rides and events and car shows and all kinds of stuff where you can bring whatever you want, but I wanted this show and this theme to be choppers only. So I mean, bobbers, choppers, custom motorcycles. It's same. I'm not kicking anyone out by any means, but
I tell you what. Sorry to interrupt you there. You just reminded me, like when you said about choppers, bobbers, they're the same. I recently got banned from a Facebook group for posting. I got warned, and this guy mate, he proper went to town on me. He sent me an email. He's like, "You were warned about posting anything pre 1970s. You have been removed."
Oh,
and I'm like, what the I'm thinking, man, this.
Right? You don't really know what does he think as a chopper? What does he think as a bobber? I mean,
yeah.
I've
to be fair, it was the page was for anything pre 70, 60s and 70s choppers only, and I think I'd put up an Evo or a twin cam a couple of times, and it's like, come on, man.
How funny is that a bike like this wouldn't fit on a chopper page just because it's a 1988 motor or a old Springer front end, like it's or a newer Springer front end from a company, but like, this is a chopper all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, like for me, Corey, it's like, okay, keep the pure stuff going. 100% respect to the people that are first off willing to spend that money because it's silly money, and they're willing to put the stuff together. But does no one think about the longevity of this culture? Like, at the end of the day, so somebody like me, I mean, my 125 is a Chinese Lex Moto, which I don't know if you've heard of them, but people hate them, and I've owned that bike since I was 21. I've had it 11 years, and when I rode it, it got abused. I rode it flat out everywhere because it's 60 mile an hour bike. It's not gonna. But I tell you what, engine wise, perfect. The only thing that I would say was a problem on them was the electrics, which I rebuilt the wiring loom. I minimized it. I took everything off the handlebars apart from a horn. And to be honest, it's going to get even more minimized now because I'm about to shave all the forks down and run no front brake. So all I'm going to have in the handlebar is literally, whereas at one point I had a brake switch and a horn, now it's just going to be a horn. And the only reason I'm leaving the horn there is just for safety. It's
Well, regardless of what people want to say, a chopper is chopping stuff off of a bike.
Exactly.
Yeah, a bobber is chopping stuff off of a bike or stripping down a stock bike and turning it into something different.
Yeah. It seems to be, obviously, without we're certainly not here to start bitching about the culture or anything like that. If anything, we're here to promote and support it. I just think that on one hand, you've got people that just pull mud guards off and the world go crazy about it. And then the guy that spent weeks fabricating something so small that seems to go unnoticed. Yeah. But, like you might spend a week fabricating something that no one else will appreciate apart from a small hand of people that straight away can go, wow, that's clearly been handcrafted. Yeah. And then you've got the purists that the guys that have obviously grown up around them bikes back, the guys that are in their 70s that now frown upon people putting oh, that's not a chopper because it's this. Yeah. Well, it is a chopper. It's been like you said.
Sorry to interrupt you. There was a time when panheads were brand new bikes. There was a time when shovelheads were brand new bikes. The guys were buying them back then because they were killer back then. They still are. So if you love older stuff, that's cool. But at one time, that was brand new.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. It's it's like you say. It's for me. I think, like, I know I've said it a lot of times on my podcast, but the whole point of me setting up a podcast was to try and connect the guys that have only just started.
Yeah.
On social media, for example, or not, don't have a massive following. They were the guys more mainly that I kind of was appealed to, like the idea of me helping somebody discover somebody was awesome. That's kind of the whole. So like at one point I was planning to get my podcast sponsor. I was thinking, I was considering sponsorship for the podcast, and that was like maybe episode 3 to 4 in. I was thinking, okay, maybe we can make this something. But then once I got to like episode, but like I would say like 9, 10. Once I got to about episode 9 or 10, I realized that I simply could not monetize my podcast, because if I was to do that, it would make it biased. Do you know what I mean? It would mean that, like, for example, if I reached out to Dave and said, to David owns Robin Hood Beard Company, I said, Dave, can you sponsor my podcast? He might do it, but then I simply couldn't interview another guy that creates beard products.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided halfway through my journey so far, that I couldn't do that. It was not because it would take away from what it stands for. You know.
I think you got something nice and raw and real here too, where we're just two guys that are talking about stuff and we're interacting, and you're in a way you're bridging and unifying different types of people, different interests in people, and you're featuring someone from all the way, in British Columbia, Canada, that's like, like different time zones, different countries, different everything, and we're just hanging out here talking. Like, I think that's really neat. I was a little nervous to be like on a podcast today, thinking like, oh my god, what am I going to say or whatever, but we've just been chilling for like an hour and having a great time, and I'm like having fun. So
and that's it. It's obviously that's exactly what it's about. It's about just trying to keep it real to the culture, man. At the end of the day, it's like not everybody is able to ride a bike, but they love the culture. So the idea of maybe someone appreciating a podcast, literally like that's what it's about. I mean, I took loads of inspiration from what Ollie's podcast is huge, but it's again the idea that he's interviewed, like I said, Jesse James. He's interviewed a load of the guys from the Builtwell competition, is it? I believe in America, Builtwell. I think they
could be. There's a couple. There's Born Free is a motorcycle show. There's Mama Tried. There's
so he's interviewed a lot of the guys from that as well, and I believe he's going to be interviewing Paul Cox. I believe. Okay. So that's cool. That's cool. You met him?
No, I haven't met him. No, he was part of Indian Larry's company, though. He did all the leather seats and a lot of the fabrication and stuff.
Yeah. He built bikes as well, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he took on more of it once Larry passed away.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I said, Larry's insane.
Yeah, they were like partners, so to speak, before. But he was a phenomenal builder, or designer or leather craftsman and stuff like that already, but I think he had to sort of take over and be the name now.
Yeah, because they changed. Is it? There's what's it? Indian Larry Legacy now, I think, is it? Yeah. They renamed it. Yeah.
Yeah, they realized they had that namesake there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So it's So like with the build behind you, is that going to be the one that's first finished this year?
Yes, this is the one I'm putting my most focus on right now, because I have the most. Well, I've been spending the most time on getting the tires, the wheels. I've got the brake on the front and back already lined up. I know I made a Springer switch from the black one. I spent a whole bunch of time customizing that black one, and then when I found this Springer, I was like, "Oh, sweet, that'll look good on there." So I changed it all and lined up this brake and lined up these handlebars. And I got as you can see, it's already got like hand controls. I haven't even mentioned this yet, but this bike is actually being built for my wife. I haven't.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was gonna mention it, but basically, like the idea of I had the frame, I had the motor. We started figuring out that she wanted to ride one, to have a chopper.
Does she know?
She helps me She wants the bars, she wants the color. She picked the black with the gold flames and all that. So I gotta like check with her and be like, hey, what do you think of this sissy bar the way I'm making it, or what do you think about this kind of thing, right? But the other bike that I showed you in the back there, the one that had the black Springer on it now, that's going to be a bike for a customer. I'm going to build that with my own intentions to make it look cool. I'm going to just put whatever tank on it, wheels, and build it into a chopper similar to this. But this one's staying home. It's going to be for my wife. So the fancy look is what she's liking so far. So
your customer, has he already kind of like laid down some money and just let you go, or is he literally just like, build me a bike and I'll pay you after? Or
that's what I think would happen. So that bike, I just bought the frame and the motor, not the one behind me, but I'm pointing at the other one that was that has the black Springer now. I haven't got a buyer for that yet, but I'm at the point with that bike where I have a frame, I have a motor, I have wheels front and back, I have a front end, and I have bars.
So now you can start reaching out to people.
Well, I don't even know. I don't know how it's going to go, because I'm just going to keep building it the way I think is cool.
Yeah.
And if someone along the way hears my story, is interested in it, wants to come see it, they might want to lay some money down on it and say, yeah, I want that bike. Can it be white? Can it be purple? Can it be, whatever they want? Yeah. And that would be a way of finishing it exactly to their liking. But I also have a vision for it where I want to build it the way I want to build it and what I think will look good. And if I just end up selling it in the end for a price tag that I have into it, then that'll be the way it is too. I don't mind investing all the time and money into it, because I know it'll sell when it's done, and that'll just give me money to build another one and start buying parts again. Actually, I already have other things on the go where I have other wheels and I have other parts and all that kind of stuff. So I as far as space goes, I kind of want to do maybe one or two at a time.
Yeah.
And then that black and gold one that's in the back with the fat tires, that's been a vision of mine for a long time, to build another chopper for myself. So that one is probably going to end up being for me, because it's just been a vision of me wanting to have that 200 on the front, 200 on the back. So I'm not building with that one with the intention to sell it, but if I get to ride it when it's done and I'm grinning ear to ear and just loving it, I'll keep it. And if someone offers me a price I can't refuse,
the right money,
I'll maybe just sell it and I'll start building another one. But for me, it's the fun and the journey of buying the parts, fabricating what I need to make them work, and creating stuff. Like, it's almost like a creative outlet. I'm not an artist where I can paint a picture. I still draw a stickman at like a grade 3 level when it comes to drawing.
But you got a vision.
But in my vision of hand metalwork and hand metal work, like I feel like I can put stuff out that I see.
And I sorry to interrupt you. You say about art, like drawing at a grade 3. I mean, I've always said to people, so like obviously when I was tattooing, in the studio, people go, how is it you're able to? Like, I'm rubbish at drawing. They would say, and I would say, look, no one's rubbish at drawing. I mean, at the end of the day, art is whatever you perceive it to be.
No doubt.
Honest to God, right? Because like we can look at. I mean, I was lucky to have Robert's sister on. She's an artist and she lives in Spain, and we were talking about art on the podcast, and like I never, until she explained it, I never really understood like what made the likes of Pablo Picasso so huge, and obviously she educated me on that and said like Pablo was well respected artist before he passed away, because I never understood his art. But once she basically said like it was his unique way of his vision and the way he would be able to lay out the design, and it was kind of like only then when I started to, I almost thought like I should have known that before, being that I created art, or I create some art myself, and it's true. It literally it can be whatever. At the end of the day, if it's a stick drawing, I mean, I guarantee you got one famous person, like hugely famous, drew that stick drawing. Regardless of how they drew it, it would sell. Do you know what I mean? So
same with abstract work. It's like, I don't understand how abstract artists can make so many hundreds of thousands or millions on their paintings or whatever. It's because of their name, but that's the thing where you're like, oh, I could do that. I could throw paint on a canvas or whatever, but it's not the same. They have a style, they have a composition or whatever. So
do you know? Yeah, and
but
do you know
when it
what I
comes
think? Do you know what I think? Sorry, mate. Do you know what I think it is, mate? I think it's the fact that let's say you're you've developed a new form of art, right? That
yeah,
no one's seen before.
yeah,
Guarantee you will be it won't be accepted.
yeah,
But I think that the fact that you have the resilience, the drive to keep going regardless of what people say and people think, that and it's like anything, like you do something a million times, and
yeah,
if you do it every day,
yeah,
eventually you're going to be good at it. Or and also same with art,
yeah,
same with that new design, like
yeah,
you carry on doing it regardless of what people think. People respect the fact that you simply didn't care what other people thought, you know?
yeah, yeah. In regards to bikes and cars, I've had a dozen hot rod cars where I've bought them, fixed them up a little bit. Some of them get full paint jobs. Some of them may get just a little bit of attention to detail or whatever. But I drive them for a little while, sell them, get another one, and you keep building an experience. And like I'm no professional either, but in the last 20 years, I've had a dozen cars. I've had a handful of motorcycles, and some of them I've kept, some of them I've sold. Um, the cars I've kept. I mean, there's a couple cars I've kept. There's a lot of them I've sold, but it's always a new learning experience. And this bike I want to be for my wife. She's gonna ride it, and enjoy it. It's still gonna be a business card type bike for me, where it shows off
Absolutely, man.
what I can do. So I'll be so proud. I don't need to sell it.
No.
I want it to be around. I want to see her enjoy it. I want to see us enjoy it, because I can ride my chopper, she can ride hers. Right now we ride the FXR together, but like we can go ride bikes together. So it's going to be a whole new adventure for us. And I don't mind. It takes me a year to build it. I love it.
That's it. That's what's so cool about it.
The next one that I'm doing, as I build it and as I end up selling it, that'll be the one that, that'll hopefully, turn into some money and turn into a reproduction of building another one and finding more cool parts and all that. So I just love doing it, no matter if it's for sale or no matter if it's for myself, or no matter if I'm going to keep it or no matter if I'm going to sell it, I guess is what I'm getting at with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a big enough house to have all the cars and bikes I've ever built. So sometimes they come and go, right?
Yeah, but for sure. I mean, I can imagine it would be quite hard to sell it. Like there's part of me, my brain saying, look, I should sell the ZX10. I speak to my friend who gifted me the bike. I believe he's watching and watching the podcast at the moment. And it's like he's cool with it. He's like, if you need to sell it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's like, if it wasn't for my friends around me, like I wouldn't have achieved anything in the respect that I didn't have the money to buy the bike. I did, he gifted me the bike. He gave me loads of parts. Then my friend who done the paint job, it was like literally would have cost me a small fortune to get it painted, but he could see that I wanted to do it, and like so when we painted it, I was like, let's put your logo in it. And at first he was a bit like, kind of like, really, you want to put the logo? I was like, of course, man. I was like, you've done all this for me, so we'll put your logo in it. So not only did we ghost it into the red, we put it into the white underneath, and we made it look like part of the logo is tucked up underneath the red. It's I've been so lucky to have the friends that I have around me. Even one of my friends is a mechanic. I think he's just tuned in as well, and he helps me with my car. And the amount of times that dude bailed me out of the crap. I've just been so lucky.
I completely agree. Friends have an influence, and friends have a way of supporting. Being around, being helpful, and you help them back. And I've traded parts with guys. I've built things for guys and not taken any compensation for it, just because I want to see that for them. I want to help them. I want to comes around in different ways too. And that's that support element that I was talking about back in the day. It's not all about the money. It's not all about the fame. Like I was telling you earlier, like I just started getting into maybe like trying to promote Choppers Till I Die as a bit of a company.
100%, mate. 100%.
But for me, this stuff has always been a hobby, because I work a regular day job during the week. My wife and I own a home, and we've lived here for a while, but like we're we're out enjoying these cars and bikes and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not doing it as a money source. I mean, maybe I would love to eventually, but as of right now, it's in the hobby zone. It's in the weekends, evenings, and my garage is just full of these things that I love. I always got a place I can go out to and come out here and just get lost in my projects. And to sum it all up, it's the funnest. Like, it makes me proud, and I can just get out here and do projects and get lost in what I'm doing. And it's for the pure love of choppers and customizing cars and bikes, and then going to hang out with my friends with these bikes and cars. It's like other people that are into the same sort of things. And if we were in the same city, we'd be hanging out, because I can tell we have the same interests as well.
Man. Yeah, hopefully this grows big enough for me. And like, I mean, like kind of like I said earlier, like the podcast is its own thing, but the whole point of 666 Customs was literally I decided that, like, I took inspiration from a car guy on YouTube, a guy called Matt Armstrong. He's trending on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard of him.
At the moment, no.
He's like, he builds wrecked supercars, right? So he's an English guy, comes from a BMX background, and I've told this story loads of times on the podcast, but I just love the fact that he's done what he's done, and it was an inspiration for me. And he basically bought back his girlfriend's crash damaged Audi TT and rebuilt it, but he built it on YouTube. So he videoed everything, and people loved it. And then he did it again, and it just got bigger. And then obviously he'd made some really good financial investments in property, and that enabled him to start putting more money in and getting to the next car. And like COVID, like a lot of these content creators said that COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to them. You know, they were able to focus solely on creating content. But kind of where I'm going with it is, I watched a podcast with a guy that interviewed him, and he's talking about his YouTube and like how it's working, and he makes like £3,000 per video before YouTube pay him.
Wow.
So I just thought, but what I appreciate about Matt is, you can go back and watch one of his BMX videos from 5 years ago, and the guy is the same guy that's now built 2 GT3 911s, owns a Lamborghini Murcielago that he's built, owns all these cars that he's only ever bought one supercar or one Lamborghini that wasn't crash damaged. And where I know I'm dragging this out, but like, the guy's still the same. And I think that, you know, to be able to become that big, I mean, he hits 1 million views in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
Like, literally, that's how big he is on YouTube now.
Wow,
but I think what people, my opinion is, what people appreciate about him is the guy's still humble. You know, and I just thought that, well, if he can do that, and he claims to not be a mechanic, you know, and I'm not a mechanic. I mean, I have no doubt that there is going to be loads of keyboard warriors on my YouTube. And to be honest, one thing I've learned so much about all of this is I'm learning to welcome that. You know, like, at first I used to get angry. I would type up something because people that been following me for a while on social media know that my spelling is terrible, right? It's appalling. And my excuse is, well, I did most of my schooling in Spain, and that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. I only did 4 years English schooling, and then I did 7 years in Spain. I know it's an excuse, but it's my excuse, and it works for me, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care that my spelling is not right. You know, one of my really good friends dropped me a private message the other day, and he said to me, he was like, "Look, Josh, you know, you need to concentrate on your spelling." And I politely said back to him, I was like, "Look, I know, I appreciate that, but I don't care." And he's like, and I think, really, I know I'm waffling on here. That's one thing I always listen back to my podcast, and I think, Josh, you got to stop fucking waffling on, man. But I think that's kind of like just sticking pure to, I don't care.
Yeah.
If people, I've had literally people comment on a picture of a bike.
Yeah.
And they've commented about, all they've done is taken the piss out of the word that I spelt wrong. And the old me would be like, who the fuck are you? Come and say that to my fucking face. And then now I'm like, now, and this is what I say so much. I know I keep sorry for sketching around, but like I've learned so much on these podcasts that I've been so honored to reach out to people and meet people. And then I listen. When I edit the podcast after, I have to listen back to myself, which is fucking painful. But
I'm gonna probably feel the same way. This is the first time I've ever done this kind of thing, and I was not sure how what to think, because I'm not very much for putting myself out there, or I don't even really post very often. I'm usually in the shop working, or traveling with my wife or whatever. Like I don't know how to promote myself, and I don't even know if I want to. But this was fun. I thought this was fun, and I might try and post a little more and maybe build up my Choppers Till I Die Instagram page. But I'm not even concerned, or I don't even really know how to promote on the internet and get likes and views. It's like,
neither do I.
If I have 50 friends that are like, liking my stuff and checking out what I'm working on, like, fuck it, that's fine.
Mate, honestly, like, I mean, I've been at this since, the podcast started in September. The page started that's what I said with the 666 thing. The idea was to build a platform that I could post pictures of cool bikes on and slowly build slowly tried to get people to kind of have heard about 666 Customs, and then basically eventually where I would like to make the money would be hopefully through YouTube. Hence why I won't monetize the podcast, because the podcast will remain its own thing. But eventually, sorry,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah. So eventually, the YouTube thing will be me acting like a complete and utter retard on YouTube, cutting up my bikes, with no fucks given. And that's what I'm learning is to truly, there are so many incredible fabricators, artists, people, so many incredible people that are so scared about putting themselves out on social media. I mean, and I tell you what, I was one of. I mean, I can show you on my phone. I can send you a screenshot of my phone where there's about 5 or 6 attempts at doing a video. I absolutely shit myself in front of a camera. But like now, all I see here is I just see you. I don't see anybody else. I know there's people watching, because we can see in the corner there's a little eye that's telling me that 2 people are currently watching. There's comments, and then we'll get comments after. But I don't concentrate on that. I appreciate everything. I take the time to like and as much as I can and reply to everybody. But this doesn't feel like content, if that makes any sense. It feels like I'm getting to meet a new cool dude, and I'm privileged to be able to sit down and talk to someone live across the other side of the world,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say a few minutes ago, was just that for you, it's going to build and build and build, and it's going to be, compounding, of people that hear about you and see what you're doing, and just making friends and interviewing people. And
it's exciting, man.
What you're doing is something that's really cool, bringing all these people together. And it for you, it's about growing and getting more popular and all that, and that's where you're going with it. And
man, for sure. And I tell you, man, and I tell you what, like I was a guy that, like, I know it sounds really crazy, but this time last year, I would have this idea, because obviously I've been fortunate enough to learn tattooing at an acceptable level. I'm not a great artist. I'm acceptable. My work's clean, but I would like do a tattoo and I would put it out there, and obviously I'd get my loyal friends and family that would always say it was great. And then I would see another artist that the lines were shaky, a lot worse than. And again, this isn't me knocking them. This is me. This is 100% appreciation to the fact that they had the balls to put their work out there, regardless of the level, without being too horrible. But what I found really crazy was these guys were flat out tattooing, like really busy, because they simply didn't. And this is what I mean. This is what now I'm learning, that because they didn't give a fuck, they started to make progress. Whereas I would reject so much work because I was petrified of ruining someone's skin, and I wouldn't do color because I can't do color, and I wouldn't do that because I can't do that. And then really, like, learning now, like, all that did was hinder me. But I used to get angry. I used to get angry with myself, and I'd sit with my missus like, I don't get it. I don't get why these guys are flat out. The shading is not as good as mine. The lines aren't as good as mine, but these guys are busy. So I used to think, like, I used to get so pissed off. But now I've learned that don't give a fuck and appreciate the little steps. And that's where I'm at. It's crazy.
And
Like less than a year later.
And everything is practice. Whether you're learning all the time. Everything's a learning curve. You know, I don't claim to know that much about mechanics and real, you know, motor problems or motor buildings or diagnosing stuff, but you know, you're just always learning, and everything makes you stronger, right? Everything makes you better as you go along. So I'm just having fun, and if you stick to that, I'm having fun, I'm doing what I love, and you know, you don't want to be ruining anyone else's day or putting anyone else down. But I mean, like, even if your stuff isn't up to par as other people, eventually you're just going to grow and grow and grow, and you're going to be who you are. And in my case, or in your case, or in someone who tattoos, you know, it's all about learning and experience and getting to, you know, you can't ever be happy with yourself. You
always got to push yourself. I mean, always got to push yourself. And it's, you know, like I say, it's been an incredible journey so far. And, you know, it's just like, for me, even though like I see my kids like grown up around this technology a lot quicker than, you know, like a lot quicker than we have. And like to them, so like when I moved back from Spain, like I would have credit on my phone to ring my friends and family, and that was all I had to speak to them. Like now I'm able to sit here and pretty much waffle on to you for an hour and 33 minutes. And it's like even 10 years ago, that wasn't even necessarily well, it was a thing, but it wasn't as popular and as easy as it is now. You know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Totally.
So what is the plan? Do you plan to take Choppers Till I Die? Is that a thing you would like to do? Is that a plan to take it to like a legitimate registered shop where you look to do it as a business?
Well, what I'll say about that is that I can keep building 1 or 2 choppers at a time in my home garage without anyone telling me what to do, without having to pay any major rent at anything else or whatever. Like I can do this as a hobby, or as a thing that is my go-to hobby. And I can still put bikes out, and I could still sell them. And if I don't have to pay rent at a shop, and if I don't have to pay my house bill with selling motorcycles, then it'll always stay in the fun zone. And I think at the moment, that's where I'm at, because I have a Monday to Friday job. And you know, I can't say I wouldn't love to do this full time, but I just know that in my region and in my, the honest truth is that it would be hard to sustain, because choppers aren't for everybody. Choppers aren't a hot item right now. And, you know, even the market in motorcycles in general, it's all geared towards performance baggers and performance stuff. So old school choppers, and that's just what I love. I can't help it. I love the old choppers.
And the thing is, like, even the guys that absolutely, and even the guys that have been around a while, Corey, you know, like the smart business guys, they've realized that you seem to see a trend where they go into clothing, apparel, or whatever. I don't know what you guys call. Americans call it apparel. I call it clothing. So they do clothing, and then they're moving into producing parts, which is a big thing. And then now, especially now, like how powerful YouTube is. Like Dirtbags California. I mean, like Mikey Loco over. If you look him up on YouTube, man. The guy, I mean, I didn't like baggers before, but like the more I watch what he's doing on YouTube, the more appreciation I've got towards them. You know what I mean? But he's literally he's a guy that's realized that couple up apparel clothing with YouTube, which enables people like me to buy a shirt, for example, you know, which can't afford a bike, but I can afford a shirt, maybe, a hats, you know, and then obviously now, like he's saying, the plan for this year is that he's gonna start looking into mass produce. I mean, he already makes an iconic center stand for the Air Ride, you know, so it's like you say, it's just a matter of trying to balance everything. Really,
manufacturing manufacturing and apparel and all that kind of stuff is good, but I think for me, everything is one of a kind. When I build this motorcycle, it's not like I don't want to build a million tanks exactly like this. No. This is the tank that suits this bike. I'll never build the sissy bar exactly the same as that again. This is the sissy bar for this bike. There is some things like handlebars that I could buy and I could build and maybe sell or whatever, but that to me, that just takes the fun out of it. I'm not trying to do that. I love a vision of a chopper and a paint job and how it's going to sit, how it's going to look, and being able to ride it myself or seeing someone ride it after would be like one or two bikes at a time would be fun for me to just like enjoy my hobby. And I'm not saying like, I am a dreamer in the sense where I would love to have everything bigger and better. And I'll never stop working hard to maybe I'll end up doing more bikes at once, or maybe I'll have a bigger shop eventually where I can afford to have more motorcycle stands and more bikes on the go. But I don't see myself, getting into like a shop, full-time shop where I'm doing like oil changes and working on customers' bikes and stuff like that, where I'm just doing all the everyday stuff. It just doesn't appeal to me, even though I would have fun working in a motorcycle shop. It doesn't appeal to me to do that. What appeals to me is the fabrication and the one of a kind and finding old school parts and putting them together. So I think for now, I don't want to quote myself and be done, but I think that I think I'll just keep it at that fun hobby level for now. And Till I Die idea was actually just started out as a ride. That like I'm going to put on a ride and a show for choppers only and all that. And then I was like, well, fuck, I got like these parts and I want to build bikes and I've already been doing it. So it's really no different. Like you said before, I'm not any different than I was a year ago. I'm not any different than I was 10 years ago. I've learned, I've become better at stuff, but I'm the same person I was 5 years ago, and I'm going to keep being that same person, this whole year and next year. And I mean, financially and success driven and traveling and all that stuff, everything's great, but I just love what I'm doing already and I'm having fun doing it. So
yeah, man. that's awesome. It truly is. It's I mean, like
I'll keep you updated. I promise. I'll show you more pictures of this.
100%, 100%, mate. Yeah, you keep sending them pictures through, and I'll keep posting them. I'll keep posting them. I mean, and also if you got any bikes that are literally finished on the road, like I'm not just posting people's bikes on the followers build. I post people's bikes that people have sent me in pictures of bikes that they finished, and to be honest, that seemed to have slowed down. I think the old Facebook of been fucking around with my algorithm. I mean, my friend that did my paintwork earlier, he was on the phone to me and he said to me, he said, "Oh, you haven't uploaded over Christmas, have you?" And I'm like, "Mate," I said, "I think I missed one day." And he's like, "Really?" He says, "I haven't seen anything." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Facebook fuck around with the algorithm."
Okay,
I think that, I don't want to go into it too much, but you do notice it. And it's hard to not get frustrated and wrapped up in it. But yeah, they do. I personally, I think that as your page gets bigger and it starts to gain traction, I think they start trying to pull you back because they want you to spend money on advertising. I've taken 2 hits on it. I did an advert, I think 3rd month into the whole 666 thing. And I did an advert and literally the page fell off the face of the earth after the advert finished. And then it's crazy, man. And I've got screenshots of it. I can send you screenshots of the insight paragraph, the chart. So it's the evidence is there.
So it did the opposite of what you wanted.
I got the outcome on the paid advert. I got it got me 147 new followers in 5 days. But what I realized after that was I get half of that organically. So I can get 100. Well, I was at one point. I was getting about 100, and I mean, I got to a stage where I was getting 100 followers in just over a week.
Wow, awesome.
And then basically, as soon as I looked to introduce the idea of starting to make money on 666,
Yeah.
it's not that the people that follow the page didn't like it, because the same people commented that, the same interaction. It was all of a sudden I started getting less new followers.
Mm.
So what I noticed is that less people were seeing it again.
Mm.
So it
Okay.
wasn't the fact that the page wasn't being appreciated by the same people, because if you click on your insight, you've got reach, engagement, likes, and then there's another one. I think the videos, right? So I can show you on here. I'll show you on here actually. I'll do it right now. Let me just go on to. So what I noticed is my engagement dropped down massively.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the moment I've got just under 2,000 followers on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can see,
Yeah.
how many people I reached.
Oh yeah, 118,000.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean, right? So
Yeah.
like I say to people, I say, unfortunately, we are judged upon the followers. We're not actually really appreciated on what we've. I mean, the engagement as well. The engagement is 43,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's 43,000 people that are physically engaged in my content. So like, it's a shame that we're judged upon the followers, because that's not actually the true outcome.
Right. Yeah.
It's but yeah. So basically, I noticed that when I started to introduce like the idea of working with monetizing certain things, Facebook saw that and went, okay, we'll hold it back and we'll expect him to pay. That's my thought. Oh, we'll hold it back and we'll expect him to start paying again.
Okay.
So it's not that the same people aren't engaging. It's the fact that new people weren't seeing.
Yeah.
And that's
interesting. Yeah.
it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm just started with this Choppers Till I Die Instagram page. I'm not probably going to do a Facebook one. It was just a way of doing a little fun page on Instagram, and I've gotten some followers since I've started it, and a lot of it started out as friends, and then friends of friends, and then now I'm starting to get people from the United States and from around the world. Actually, there's starting to be some people that are following me, and even in this last week, since I've been posting the story of us doing this podcast,
yeah, man,
I've had like 10 new followers just this week, and I'm like, yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, I tell you, like, so the last guy, Peter built Moto, right? He's over 40,000 followers, and his success is that he is been able to utilize the 1.5 minute reels. So he based cinematically can edit a video that's would have taken hours of content to drop it down to 1.5 minutes. And mate, some of his reels have had over 1 million views.
Maybe that's what people like. Maybe that's what people like, is those quick little videos. They can be done and they can be back to their
but unfortunately with that is obviously then you find that it doesn't necessarily really showcase what you're really doing in 1.3 minutes and 1.5 minutes. Well, Peter actually said that this year's ambition for him is to move on to YouTube, because fundamentally, why not potentially start to earn money off of something you're good at? It doesn't mean that you're selling out and you're trying to you're trying to rake in all the money and live the high life. But at the end of the day, if Jesse James can turn around and say, well, I've decided to build Outlaw TV because I'm in full control of it and I don't see why other people should benefit financially. If anyone else said that, it would be, you're just in it for the money. But like, you can tell when people are in it for the money or not. At the end of the day, we're still sat here talking and there's no one actually viewing. Does that mean we stop because there's no one viewing? No, it's we do it because we enjoy it. And like I said, why not make a little bit of money if you can, and at least then you can put it back into the next project. Or
and those things keep getting better and bigger, and next time we do this in a year from now, we'll do an update video or something like that.
100%, man. 100%. It's
people watching us.
I think, like you say, you can't fake this. People will know if you're fake and full of shit. And I think like I get messages going, keep doing what you're doing, it's great. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, I'm just a dude that's waffling on a load of shit. Really, I mean, I listen back to my podcast, mate, and I'm like thinking,
is this interview something that's going to be on YouTube where I can show my mom later?
100%, mate, 100%, and
she'll watch this.
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube probably within the next 2 weeks. It'll be on YouTube. But I'm fucking terrible at doing interviews, man. All I listen is to me going back, like, and I'm thinking, how the fuck is anyone wanting to actually? I'm not surprised you're not falling asleep, man. I just waffle on, and half of it doesn't even make sense.
Hey, man, good. We've already been almost 2 hours, man. We've been having a good
That's
time.
what I mean. It's crazy, man. So I think so for people that want to find you on Instagram, it's choppers_till_I die. Yeah.
Yeah. So choppers till I die with underscores in between each of them, because that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. And I mean, I'm gonna put all the relevant links. I'll put all the relevant links on anyway.
Yeah, what I've been doing with that page is I started out posting the poster of the show and appealing to my friends locally that were going to come to the ride. And I used that poster and I used Instagram as a platform to get people to come to the ride. And then shortly after the ride, like the very next day or so, I posted pictures of the ride and then the guys' bikes who were on the ride. And then after that, I was like, well, I want to post some other cool bikes from pictures I've seen over the internet. So I started posting a little bit of just other cool motorcycles from around the world that we save on our phone, all these cool bikes and stuff like that. So I wanted to sort of have a little bit of content where I was putting out some bikes that I thought was really cool. And then every once in a while, as I'm doing things on these bikes that I have at my house, I'm going to try and put that post about the tank that I built. And I'm going to try and put that post about the seat pan that I built. And then I'll have, you know, a few weeks of bikes and stuff that are just fun to look at. And then I'm going to try and infiltrate my projects along with other people's bikes. So as long as people know that those aren't all my bikes that I'm posting on my page, it's just for fun. It's just for eye candy. Yeah. And then it'll probably be noticeable when it's the raw steel stuff and the projects coming together and all that. And, you know, the same background in my shop all the time. That's when you'll know it's something that I'm working on. But I want a blend of showing up with real stuff that I'm working on and the fun stuff that I see that I'd like to support as well. And so,
that's it. And I mean, like that's fundamentally what I do. You know, I started off just posting pictures of other people's bikes. Never claimed to own them, and the thing is, you're gonna get some people that think that it's yours, and you know, and that's so. I never claimed to own anything on my page. I've had a couple of people go, well, you've done this or done that, and I'm thinking, well, you haven't read the post properly. You know, it clearly says that it was built by somebody else. But again, you very rarely get. You hear a lot of bad stories about how doing stuff on social media, but to be honest, I think the worst I've had is someone taking the piss out of my spelling mistakes. So I've been lucky, really. But I think, you know, definitely when you move on to YouTube, that's where, and this is what I mean. I've been so lucky to kind of have them couple of people that have tried to take the piss out of my spelling that I've learned already. Well, leave them to it, and then you know, constructive criticism is always welcome. 100% is always welcome. You know, and I feel that I'm ready for the ridicule of poor worlds on YouTube. You know,
it'll be fine.
It'll be coming, mate. So, mate, I appreciate you taking the time, Corey. It's been an hour and 50 minutes, man. That's awesome. I think that's probably the second longest podcast, to be fair.
Wicked, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it. I didn't know it was going to be 2 hours either, but I've had a lot of fun, and it's been great just chilling and talking and hanging out in my shop and your place. So let's do it again.
So and you'll have to keep me updated on when you arrange your next ride out, because I will post it all on here as well, because I'm really lucky that I've got quite a few people that follow me from Canada. I mean, I know Robert's just joined the live. I don't know where you've been, Robert, but it's good to see you on here now.
As far as I did watch that podcast, and I think he said he was in Vancouver, which is about
Vancouver,
4 hours away from here. So
yeah, he's Robert's build. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video that he sent me the video on his BSA going through the tunnel. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that part. But if he wants to ride one of his BSAs all the way up to Kelowna,
yeah, man. Yeah, well, I tell you, Robert made the front page of BSA in the UK, Backstreet Heroes. You know, I believe he's made the front page twice. I think, which is Backstreet Heroes is a magazine that's been around for 40 years, I believe. I don't know. Have you heard of Backstreet Heroes?
I have some of the issues, the older ones or whatever. But yeah, they always feature the British bikes and stuff.
Yeah. He's just got away at the shop. Just got away. Yeah. There's no excuse, man. But yeah, we'll tie up there then, and like I say, I'll put all the links for Choppers Till I Die on the podcast underneath on the description and all that. So hopefully we get some more people go over and check out your work. And I mean, I think if you do some video footage, that would be appreciated as well.
Okay.
You know, like do some videos. Yeah, man. I would like to see some stuff getting cut up, man. That's only my personal opinion. I think it'd be cool.
I've been told that already, that I need to up from the pictures to the little I don't know what you call that, like
reels they call it.
Reels, and just do a little bit of reels where it's like putting stuff together and cutting scenes and stuff like that. And I mean,
yeah, man.
It's like that's one of the things I don't know about yet, but I'm gonna get at it if I
can imagine. I can imagine your wife being that she's into like digital art. She's probably got some form of basically you use your phone and you get CapCut is a free app, and Peter from Peterbilt Motor, who's had several million views, times a million views on a reel. He said the same thing. He said I use an iPhone 13 and CapCut, which is free. And you know, if that's inspirational, for me, it's like, wow, if you can do that on that stuff, which isn't even thousands of pounds or dollars or worth of equipment, and you can achieve that, then I feel that all of us can follow down that.
That's it. I got something new to come up to do and bring out, and then I'll just keep hammering on these bikes, and maybe I'll get some reels going too, and that'll be what people can look forward to coming out of the shop.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, Robert's just said there that he's gonna head over and give your page a like and say hi, man. Robert's an awesome guy. Awesome guy as well.
Maybe I'll end up meeting him one day since we are not that far away.
That'd be cool. You'd be able to send me a picture like, you're not here, unlucky. But awesome, man. So
I wanna get or send you, but like I want to get some of those decals, the 666 Customs decals that you just got.
Yeah, man.
We'll get each other's address too, and maybe send each other a couple.
You know, I say I'm going to be doing it in this stuff.
Yeah.
In the old metal flake.
Yeah.
Metal flake stuff. I just got to get it over. I got to get it over to my friend that's going to cut them out, and we'll get them posted. I got to send over some stuff to Robert as well. I've been saying for a while. I got to get a shirt sent over to him. And, what I might do then is I might I could probably send the stuff for you to him, and then I could just get him to send the stuff to you. I'll just send over the money on PayPal and get it done.
No doubt, man. It's all good.
That's awesome, man.
I'm probably going to be doing some T-shirts for Choppers Till I Die coming up in the next month or so, and I'll make sure one comes your way too.
That'd be awesome. All right, mate. So I'm going to hit the old end button now, and we'll end it there.
All right, man. We'll talk.